Love has its own kind of blindness. They say it's beautiful. I've always thought it's dangerous, especially when two people see forever, and one of them doesn't make it past day 2. Eleanor Hale only lived 48 hours after her wedding. Interestingly, it's not the tragedy that makes this story chilling. It's what came after. I'm Detective Cassandra Maddox. Today, I uncover how an influential couple's I do changed into I didn't. Eleanor and Ryan Hale were married on a Saturday at Ryan's parents' estate. They'd known each other for 6 months, met at a charity gala, and hit it off immediately. After 4 dates, Ryan proposed. Everyone called it a whirlwind romance, but Eleanor and Ryan believed it was meant to be. That first night, they were drunk on champagne, just like everyone else. After the party, they left for their honeymoon spot, a modern cabin in the woods that Eleanor had booked 3 months prior. The next morning, they had breakfast, had a picnic on the property, went for a swim in the lake, had dinner that night, and went to bed. Ryan was the first to wake the following day and decided to get a start on breakfast to serve Eleanor in bed. When he went up to their room later, she was still asleep, so he let her sleep in and went on a run. An hour later, he found Eleanor in the same position he left her in. He called out to her, no answer. When he moved closer is when he noticed she wasn't breathing, and immediately he called 911. When paramedics got there, they pronounced her dead on the scene. Later, friends and family arrived to comfort Ryan and tried to understand what happened. 2 days later, the coroner's report found that she had died from cardiac arrest. She was a healthy 29-year-old with no pre-existing conditions. Sure, sometimes it happened, but there was something peculiar about this case. When I arrived at their cabin, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The thermostat was set to 74. The cabin log showed it had been manually reduced at 3:02 a.m., 13 minutes before Eleanor's heart stopped. Her smartwatch recorded an elevated pulse at 3:14 a.m., followed by a sudden drop at 3:15 a.m. Ryan's watch, synced through their couple's app, showed no movement during that minute. His heart rate was steady. That means he wasn't startled awake. He didn't move at all. In the trash beside the bed, I found a single cotton pad faintly tinted beige. It smelled faintly floral, but off, like something that was trying too hard to hide another scent beneath it. The nightstand drawer was empty, except for a folded napkin from the dinner they'd ordered. On it, a faint circular stain, wine or something like it, but the bottle listed on their room bill was never found. The resort staff said Ryan requested fresh linens early that morning. That's before the 911 call. When I read Ryan Hale's official statement, it sounded like it had been edited twice before it was ever written. He said they had dinner around 7. Eleanor said she felt dizzy but thought it was from the wine. They sat by the fire for a bit, went to bed around 10. She was asleep when he turned off the lights. Then, he woke up just after 6, went downstairs to make breakfast. When he came back up an hour later, she hadn't moved, so he went for a run. When he came back after an hour, he tried to wake her, but she wasn't breathing. That's when he called for help. I noted 2 things. First, he mentioned wine. The cabin didn't serve wine, only champagne ordered through their private service. Second, between 6:43 and 7:42 a.m., his watch recorded over 3 miles of running. Ryan said he went on a run along the lake trail, but the path's security camera, installed at the entrance, never once caught him leaving or returning. Either the camera failed, or he never left. I already knew there were holes in his story. I just needed him to confirm it. So, I met Ryan at his parents' estate, the same place they'd said their vows a week earlier. I read his statement again while he poured water into 2 glasses. When I asked about his morning run, he hesitated just long enough to matter. Then came the correction. Not the one I expected. He said he hadn't gone outside at all. He'd run on the treadmill in the cabin's basement instead, claiming it was too hot and humid out. He said he didn't want to mention it earlier because he knew people would think he killed Eleanor if he said he'd stayed close to the scene, so he'd lied to the police, voluntarily. The treadmill confirmed it. Motion logs showed a 40-minute session starting at 6:48 a.m. The same window he said he was out running. The same time Eleanor was already dead. He swore it wasn't guilt. He panicked and thought the lie would make him look innocent. But every change in his story made her death feel less like tragedy and more like performance. Back at the evidence lab, I went over everything again. Eleanor's smartwatch, the cotton pad from the trash. The coroner's team had labeled the samples non-critical, but they were wrong. The cotton pad was the first clue. No foundation traces, no lipstick, but a faint oily residue absorbed into the fibers. The lab results stated that it was an unknown compound with floral markers. Next, her smartwatch logs showed the last oxygen reading plummeted over a span of 90 seconds, faster than suffocation, slower than cardiac arrest. The data stopped at 3:15 a.m. The thermostat log changed at 3:02 a.m. 14 minutes later, her pulse spiked, then flatlined. Whatever killed her started quietly. It wasn't poison in a drink. It wasn't physical. It was something in the air. The lab tech called me over near the fume hood. He'd isolated the residue sample. When heated, it released a faint scent. Floral at first, then sharp enough to sting the eyes. The next step was to go back to the beginning, the wedding. If something started before the honeymoon, someone would have seen it. I interviewed the bridal party one by one. 5 women, different temperaments, same pattern. They all said Eleanor was calm that morning. She joked about how surreal it felt. They drank mimosas and listened to music. Nothing strange, until the final hour before the ceremony. The makeup artist mentioned Eleanor's skin reacting slightly around her neck, redness that faded within minutes. She assumed it was nerves. One bridesmaid said she'd developed a headache halfway through hair and makeup. Another said she'd felt dizzy for no clear reason. When I asked if anything in the room smelled unusual, they all agreed on one thing: a strong, floral scent, sweet but sharp. Someone joked that Eleanor must have bathed in it. None of them remembered seeing a perfume bottle directly, just that the smell had lingered hours after the ceremony. The maid of honor said something odd right before leaving. When they hugged her goodbye that night, she felt cold. It was midsummer, 80 degrees. That detail shouldn't have meant anything. But later, when I reviewed the coroner's notes, her body temperature at the time of discovery was lower than it should have been by nearly 4 degrees. Something had started long before she went to sleep, and whatever it was, it didn't stop when she did. If a perfume killed Eleanor, I had to know better what I was dealing with and needed my own sample. I met with Anna, the maid of honor, at her parents' house 2 days later. She led me upstairs to Eleanor's room. The closet door was open. Half-packed boxes lined the floor. Gifts, shoes, pieces of her wedding dress that hadn't been cleaned yet. Anna moved through them quickly, pulling items aside as if to prove nothing was missing. Then she stopped. A small glass bottle sat half-buried under tissue paper. Clear, no label, faint pink tint. "This is the perfume. It was a wedding gift from Ryan," she said quietly. It was almost empty. The liquid shimmered faintly when tilted, like fine powder suspended inside. Anna mentioned Eleanor had used it throughout the day, more than she needed. 2 bridesmaids complained of mild headaches and watery eyes. Everyone blamed the flowers. I noted the details, bagged the bottle, and sealed the pouch. Back at the lab, I handed the perfume over to forensics. Under light, the liquid looked normal, pale pink, faint shimmer. But under UV, It bled a strange, dull green. The technician ran the compound through GCMS. The results showed that it wasn't one formula, it was two. The base was harmless, floral oil, diluted ethanol, standard fixatives. But the secondary compound, a stabilizer, was wrong. It contained trace derivatives of phenylacetonitrile, a chemical sometimes used in fragrance preservation trials. It's safe in small doses, but dangerous. With prolonged skin contact, the compound degraded when exposed to body heat and sweat, producing hydrogen cyanide in trace amounts. Not enough to kill in one use, but enough to accumulate through repeated exposure. I remembered the redness on her neck during the makeup artist dismissed heat rash. Eleanor had been applying that perfume every few hours for 2 straight days, directly on her pulse points. Each time she reactivated what was already beneath the skin. At the honeymoon cabin, sealed indoors, her body would have absorbed higher levels through pores opened by heat and alcohol. This was gradual poisoning mistaken for cardiac arrest. We compared the compound to the residue found on the cotton pad in the trash. A perfect match. Eleanor Hale didn't ingest anything lethal. She absorbed it, one spray at a time. I called Ryan Hale the morning after the lab report. No answer. His phone went straight to voicemail. When I reached his parents, his mother said he'd taken a few days away to clear his head. No forwarding address, no itinerary, just gone. They said he needed distance from all the noise. Grief is unpredictable. Disappearing right after a toxicology report isn't. I checked flight logs, hotel records, card transactions. Nothing since the day after the funeral. His accounts were still active, small charges, all local. He hadn't left town. He just didn't want to be found. That made him more interesting. My next step, then, was tracing the perfume. The lab logged the bottle's etching number, a supplier code. Most fragrances come from bulk stock. This one didn't. The bottle itself was high-end French glass, sold in small lots to independent perfumers. Only a few distributors handled them within the state. I pulled the purchase records. Most orders went to legitimate brands, ones that appeared in magazines, storefronts, online catalogs. But one entry stood out. 2 months before the wedding, a private buyer ordered a set of custom bottles, paid in cash, picked up locally. No business name, no registered license. The pickup address led to a shared workspace, the kind small creators use when they're testing products off the record. When I called the leasing office, the manager said the renter used the lab part-time, a female in her mid-30s and a cosmetics background. No one remembered her name, but they remembered the scent. Floral, the manager said. Strong. You could smell it in the hall for hours after she left. I asked if she was still renting the space. He hesitated, then said she'd cleared it out 2 weeks earlier, the day after Eleanor's funeral. I didn't know her name yet, but whoever she was, she'd packed up fast, too fast for someone with nothing to hide. The next day, I decided I was going to investigate this workspace myself. The leasing manager said it had been cleared out overnight, cash paid to end the contract early, no forwarding info, no questions asked. The unit's door stuck halfway open. Inside, everything was too clean. The counters were scrubbed and equipment was gone, but the floor drain glittered faintly under the light, a pink residue that clung to the edges. The ventilation fan was still running. Near the sink, a pipette lay wedged behind the trash bin. The bulb was burned through, melted slightly at the tip, as if it had come into contact with acid. The trash bin itself was empty, except for one folded towel that looked out of place, white but stained faint beige in the center. When I lifted it, a faint chemical warmth radiated through the gloves. Under it, a small cracked glass vial which had the same blush tint as Eleanor's perfume bottle, still half full, I slid it into an evidence bag, then noticed a torn paper pressed against the wall behind the counter. Part of a shipping label. Only the bottom half remained, but it was enough. Delivery date, May 10th. Destination, R. Hale, Silverwood Lane. The rest of the sender's details had been ripped off clumsily. The only other thing left behind was a faint circular smudge where a nameplate used to be. When I dusted it lightly, letters emerged in fine residue. D-I-A-R-O-W. Whoever they are, best believe I was coming for them, and soon. Back at my office, I ran the fragment of the shipping label through the database. The code on the bottom corner wasn't from a standard courier. It belonged to a private fulfillment service, one used by small boutiques to mask their suppliers. The database gave me 2 matches. The first was a jewelry vendor. The second, a skincare company registered 6 months ago under the name Rowan Formulations. The business address led back to an empty storefront downtown. Inside, just a shuttered sign and a faded poster that read, "Opening soon." It never did. The state license listed a single employee, Lydia Rowan. No criminal record, no complaints. But her name was buried inside Ryan Hale's old call logs. 4 entries, all within the month before the wedding. One call lasted 17 minutes. The date, April 27th. I cross-checked Ryan's phone records for purchases or deliveries that week. One courier entry matched. A small parcel delivered from a Rowan Formulations return address. Declared contents, cosmetic samples. Recipient, Ryan Hale. And here, the perfume that killed Eleanor Hale had started its journey as a wedding gift, wrapped in kindness, delivered by hand, and made by someone who knew exactly what it would do. Now it was time for a little confrontation. Lydia Rowan's boutique sat between a florist and a yoga studio, the kind of place you'd walk past without noticing. She was behind the counter, arranging bottles into neat lines. When she looked up, there was recognition before composure. That flicker, a second too long, told me I was in the right place. I didn't speak at first, just laid the evidence file on the counter. The perfume bottle inside caught the light. Lydia's eyes found it instantly, and for a moment, the mask slipped, a single flicker of panic before she forced it back into place. I started simple. I asked her where she got the formula. She said she didn't make it. I told her I didn't ask if she made it. I asked where she got it. She blinked once. That's what guilt looks like when it's still deciding whether to lie. She finally said that she tests products, but normal products don't eat through skin, I told her. I confirmed with her that she was bridesmaid. She helped Eleanor get ready and saw her use the perfume. Lydia snapped, saying Eleanor wanted to smell good, that it was her day, and that she wasn't supposed to die. There it was, the crack. The words came out before she could stop them. I stepped closer, handcuffed her, and informed her she was under arrest for the murder of Eleanor Hale. She didn't fight, didn't shout, just let me pull her wrists behind her back. When the metal closed, she exhaled, almost in relief. "You don't understand," she murmured, voice low, broken. "He'll understand. Ryan will. He loves me." Her words stopped me cold. I signaled for backup and radioed it in. The dispatcher's voice crackled through static. Units on the way. Lydia stood silent, her eyes fixed somewhere past me. When the patrol car pulled up, red lights bleeding through the glass, she turned her head toward the window. "Tell him I didn't mean to hurt her," she said. "He knows me. He knows I wouldn't." That line followed me long after she was gone, because if Ryan knew her, how well did he know her? 2 days after the arrest made the news, Ryan Hale called my office. His voice carried gratitude, sorrow, all the right notes. He said he wanted to thank me personally for bringing his wife's killer to justice. But gratitude this early always sounds rehearsed, and he'd been silent until now. I told him I wasn't ready to close the case yet. There were still gaps, things that didn't line up. He hesitated, then agreed to come to the station the next morning. When he arrived, I didn't take him to my office. I took him to the interrogation room where Lydia already was. The second he entered, everything in the room shifted. Her posture changed, shoulders pulled back, eyes bright, the faintest smile trembling on her lips. It was the kind of reaction you don't fake. Recognition. Longing. Ryan froze. I could see the past settle on him like dust he'd tried to forget. He didn't deny knowing her. He just didn't know how much she remembered. Then he told me they dated briefly years ago. She was the one who ended it, left him for someone else. He said it had been nothing serious, just a few weeks that never became more. He didn't even realize she and Eleanor knew each other until after he'd proposed. But Lydia hadn't moved on. She'd followed his life quietly, watched every milestone, every headline. And 2 nights before the wedding, she called him. That explained the 17-minute call I found in his logs. Said she wanted to make peace and asked if he'd already gotten Eleanor a gift. When he said no, she offered to make something herself, a custom perfume, free of charge. She said it was her way of letting the past go. And the motive? Well, that wrote itself the moment Lydia opened her mouth in that interrogation room. She said she'd only wanted Eleanor to get sick, just sick enough to make Ryan turn to her for comfort. She said love is fragile, that sometimes it needs help breaking to be rebuilt. But that's the thing about obsession. It never knows when to stop. Eleanor Hale's death looked simple at first. Sudden cardiac arrest, no signs of struggle, no forced entry. A young bride gone in her sleep. When Ryan gave the bottle to Eleanor, he thought he was giving love in a glass. He didn't know he was handing her the weapon Lydia built to bring him back. Each day Eleanor used it. Her body absorbed more of the compound. The redness on her neck, the headaches, the fatigue, all early signs of toxicity. By the second night, it had reached her heart, and she never woke up. Lydia Rowan, a bridesmaid, chemist, and friend. She didn't stab, shoot, or strangle. She designed her jealousy, bottled it, and called it perfume. Eleanor Hale didn't die of heart failure. She died of trust, weaponized by the one person who wanted to be remembered most. Finally, I could close this case out and say yet again, checkmate. If you're still here, you're one of the curious ones. Stick around. The next mystery's already waiting.